Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time we're talking episode 14 of Gotham called The Fearsome Doctor Crane. Now, as you can probably guess by the title, we are dealing with Gotham's version of Scarecrow, who has been turned by the appearance of the bad guy's son into a legacy character, which of course, the internet being the internet, some people got really their shorts in a knot over. Well, I don't really see a problem with this. I mean, these characters have been reinterpreted so many times over the years. Why not have there be one of these characters be reinvented as a legacy character? And of course, what we do see of this version of Scarecrow is very much classic Scarecrow, terror, killing people with their worst fears and all this. But this sort of feeds into what is really the big problem with this episode, in that it's sort of one of those episodes that again feels mostly like setup. So we don't really get a good read on Todd. We get even less of a read on Jonathan. So it's really hard to say very much about them. Before I continue on, I gotta talk about the last scene of this episode, really, like with Fish charging at that soldier guy. I'm sure that was probably intended to look cool and badass, but it really just ultimately looked ridiculous. I mean, Fish has never been really presented as a terribly physical person. Yeah, she can take down Penguin in a fight, but I could probably do that. I mean, there's a reason she has Butch following her around all the time. So the idea that she's going to be able to take down this scary-looking soldier dude all by herself, I mean, that just seems like such BS. And the only reason this has any sort of air of possibility around it is just because Jada Pinkett Smith is a really, really good actress. She knows how to seem scary and intimidating. She's very good at that. But how do you look at that scene and not laugh your ass off? I don't know. Okay, so let's see. Well, this is the first episode where we've really got a serious focus in on Eddie, and we get to see that some of that Riddler cleverness, really kind of him using it for his own selfish ends, which is to get his job back, despite the fact that the ME getting canned would really not change the fact that he had disobeyed Captain Essence orders. But I guess she's like, I guess, well, I mean, you get what I'm saying. Though in all fairness, she did say, I do like Eddie, and that she'd obviously looked the other way for him quite a bit. But still, that and the stuff with Miss Kringle, I mean, it's all well and good, but it really doesn't feel like it has a lot of oomph to it. Like, it doesn't really feel like this is going to be a big push for Eddie's character. Something big needs to happen with Eddie. I mean, this is a nice first step, and it would have been nice if this had happened in maybe like episode 3 or 4. Now we're on episode 14. We're more basically 2/3 of the way through the season. It just doesn't quite work as well. We also get to see, looks like Leslie Tompkins is going to kind of move in to be the new ME, and she and Jim's relationship becomes quite a bit further down the road, furthered, I should say. And, that's all nice and very well done, but beyond that, I don't really have a huge amount to say. So we get to see a little bit of Jim dealing with Selina recanting her story. And what I love how he doesn't mention is the whole thing of like how he found that wallet down in the sewer, and that is what convinced him that Selina wasn't lying to him in the first place. Apparently he just sort of forgets about that and is kind of back on the I guess she was just lying after all. That's pretty BS right there. Let's see. Oh yes, of course. This episode also features Bullock. It's sort of weird. You feel kind of sort of don't like how he's sort of using his job to creep on this lady, but he's obviously genuinely into her. Well, or at least genuinely into getting into her pants. But I did feel like they really were forming an honest connection there, and that Harvey wasn't lying when he was sort of making that confession about his dying fears. to that support group. I think he was being completely honest there. And it was probably because of that lady whose name I can't be asked to remember, sort of was being really frank with him and sort of made Harvey realize that, you know, why not? This is the sort of a one opportunity where he can kind of really get this thing off his chest and not really suffer any sort of consequences for it. And it was also nice to see Harvey genuinely doing some honestly heroic stuff this episode. You know, he saves the lady's life at the end. He is genuinely, you know, trying to be a good detective here. And that moment at the beginning where he sort of like looks at the cops who are sort of giving him the hairy eye and goes like, "Yeah, F you dudes." I mean, that was cool. Which is kind of an odd counterpart to this episode where we see Captain Essa, where she once again gives Gordon the "there are some people you go after" speech and some people you don't. It's like, okay, Essa, you either need to toe the line, you need to pick a side here. Either you're for cleaning up the Gotham City PD or you're not. Because it's like, okay, we're gonna clean up the Gotham City PD as far as we can, but then there's this line that we can't. Like, no, man, lady, screw you, lady, seriously. And let's see, what else do we have going on in this episode? Oh yes, of course, Penguin. Well, once again, we see that Oswald's problem is that he has this really bad habit of overplaying his hand, and this is what gets him thrown into the car compactor. Now, again, I did like that the idea of like all these little odd moments, like, you know, him yelling out Don Falcone's name and stabbing that guy to death at the gunfight. You know, I'm glad that all did come around and bite him in the ass. And I'm glad that we got to see that Maroni was not a complete idiot. I mean, even sort of like, why did I buy so much of the nonsense that you were selling? I don't know. But, you know, this is kind of another example of what we saw with Oswald last episode, you know, where Fish had smacked him around and was forcing him to kiss her feet. Well, once again, Oswald worms his way out of that one. I mean, yeah, last time around it was mostly luck. But again, this time he got out of it through his own cleverness. And Penguin's a guy who is very much an example of that which does not kill you makes you stronger and smarter. Penguin's getting smarter all the time. You know, Fish is out of the way. Now, granted, he can't continue to play both sides of the fence against Maroni anymore, but, you know, that game couldn't have gone on forever. And he knows it, and Falcone knows it. So now it's kind of, you know, a line has been drawn in the sand, and now it's time for some real throwdown stuff there. And I did love that scene at the end with Penguin and the church ladies. That was hilarious. Again, it shows that Penguin knows how to read situations and can pick up on them very quickly. He's not perfect at many things, but he's getting better all the time. And yeah, guys, that's really all I have to say about this episode. Again, you know, it's some nice moments for some cool stuff going on with Penguin. You know, a nice character beat for Bullock. We finally get a little focus on Eddie. You know, Leslie and Jim's relationship goes forward a little. But again, so much of this does feel like setup for the next episode. So that's all I really got to say this time around, guys. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.